Hey, welcome. Why is my camera falling down? Hey guys, welcome to my full year ranking video. We're going to be doing this in the form of a tier list, by the way, because I have too many movies I've seen this year. 35. Clearly, there's other movies in December that I'd like to be able to see, but with just me being as busy as I am, it's looking like a lot of those are going to wait until streaming. First of all, let me go over the rules. Starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, starting with the rules. As you can see right here, I have my tier list, okay? Basically, how I have this organized, I wanted to kind of make it a little bit unique and interesting and kind of a fun take on the tier list situation. From this point forward, it's going to be unedited. So you're going to see me unedited, unfiltered. I am not going to edit myself because I need this to stay in sync with this video because I do not want to be editing 2 videos at once. I'm doing a screen grab here. I'm also doing a camera here, and they're not being filmed. I know that there are other ways to do this. I'm probably doing this the most complicated way. I've never done a tier list, so bear with me. Okay, all right. So we are just going, this is going to be unfiltered, fully ADHD me with no thoughts filtered out. So here is the rules of this tier list. We have your traditional A, B, C, D, F, which honestly, I did it more kind of like a report card at school. That's kind of, so there's no E there. A, B, C, D, F. A being the best films, F being the worst films. But I have 2 special categories. My S tier is going to be reserved for the top 5. So the top 5 films of the year are going in this category. At the end of the video, what I'm going to do is I am going to switch to my ranking format that you're more familiar with, and I am going to basically pit those films against each other and rank them from my least favorite to my most favorite. Clearly, I'm going to like all of them because they are my favorite films but of the year, but I'm basically going to rank them according to favorites at the end of the video. Now, we also have this little guy down here, the Worst of the Year Award. This is a movie that is going to be awarded to the very lowest of the low film that I saw this year. The movie that shouldn't have even have been made, to be honest. And that's kind of how we're doing that. So, wow, that was a loud clap. I tell you, unedited me is ridiculous. I'm sorry, guys. I am so sorry. Okay, let's just get started. We're gonna do this. These are organized in no particular order. I have them all here. We're just gonna go from left to right in each row, and we're gonna put them in. Starting with the Super Mario Brothers. I saw this with my husband and my son, and we all enjoyed it. We had a great time. It could have been better. I think there were some things that, like Luigi wasn't in it enough. He didn't have as much of a developed storyline. A lot of the side characters needed to have more developed storylines. It was clearly not a cinematic masterpiece, but it was very well done. I was worried before I saw it, but there were so many references, the Super Mario Brothers rap from the TV show, all those things. I loved it. So I am going to put this, just because there's room for improvement, and clearly it's not in my S tier either, I'm going to put Super Mario Brothers in B tier. I think that is a really good spot. It is, it was a great movie, but it's not going to be like in my top. It was very good though. Next, we've got 65, a movie with Adam Driver. I always get his name mixed up. I always want to say Adam Diver. What is his name? Whatever. Anyways, we're not gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up. No, I'm not gonna look it up. No editing. Hey, let's go. So this movie sucked. Just to put it bluntly, it had its moments. I did enjoy watching it. It wasn't like terrible, but it wasn't good. This movie could have heavily benefited from making the fact that it's set in 65 BC or whatever it was, or 80 or whatever it was, 60, whatever it was supposed to be, back in the dinosaur time. it could have benefited from making that the twist. Instead, they put it right at 65 blah, 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 years ago. I'm like, that could have been so cool if they saved that for the end. Such a missed opportunity, and for that reason alone, along with it just being pretty underwhelming, this is going to go in my D category. So we got our first D. Sorry. We have The Flash is next, and The Flash is a movie that I enjoyed more the first time than I did the second time. Yeah, it was rough. It was really, really rough. There are some references that were used in this movie that should have hit but didn't, and it was just because it didn't belong there. Like, there's like some really bad writing in here. Like, I really, really hated when they brought in the "you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts" line, because yeah, it's from the original Batman movies, but it felt so out of place and so forced, and it was just used for fan service, and it just did not hit. On top of that, we had the whole Ezra Miller situation. That is just a chaos bowl of crap all of it itself. And then, and I'm pretty good about separating the art from the artist, but it was really hard for me to separate from this because he is an incredible actor. I really like the volley that he played with himself, the other version of himself, and the emotional story with him and his mom was very touching, but it just did not hit for me. I don't think it was terrible, but it was not good. It was very middle of the road in many ways. So I'm gonna put this in. I'm oscillating. Should I put it in C or D? I'm going to put it in D. There were so many things about the writing that just were not good. There were so many jokes that were wonky. They threw in a random Barbie joke in there too because they were both WB, but Barbie wasn't even out yet, so it just didn't even make sense for them to make that joke. There's just so many issues that would lead me to put it in D. Next, we've got Haunting in Venice. As for those of you who saw my ranking video for my summer videos I put this in last place. I was not a fan. I had high expectations and it really let me down. I just did not think it was a good movie, but there were some redeeming qualities with the cinematography. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous to look at. So I'm not going to put it in F, but I will put it in D. There's a lot of Ds. Sorry. Next, we've got Asteroid City. Asteroid City is, you all remember, I put it pretty high up in my, it was in my second place for my summer videos. And I still feel the same about this. I'm actually trying to find a physical copy to buy because, you know, how I feel about physical copies, and I want this in my collection. This is definitely one of those movies that are genre defining, director defining. It is in my opinion, one of his understated masterpieces. You know, clearly Wes Anderson has like obvious masterpieces like Grand Budapest Hotel, The Fantastic Mr. Fox, Isle of Dogs. Like, these are movies that he will be known for. But this is one of those movies that will go down in history as being like underrated, but such a gem because it is one of his best works ever. This film for me is going to be my first in my S tier, my top 5 tier. It was just so unbelievable, and it is definitely in my top 5 films I saw this year, 100%. Next one we have is Blackberry. Blackberry was so good. I talk about it a lot in my ranking video, so I'm not going to reiterate too much here. It was just a really good film. I really enjoyed the humor, the history, and even if it's not completely accurate, a lot of it is, and it was really, really good. I'm going to put this in my A tier. It was just such a great movie, a movie that has a lot of rewatch value to me. I'm a huge tech guy. I love retro tech. I'm making a movie about retro tech. So, you know, this one's definitely up there for me. Next, we've got Godzilla -1. You already know how I feel about that. I just made a video about it, and I was very, very affected by it. So clearly, and if you want to know what I have to say about it, go watch my video on that. I'm not going to reiterate too much here, but this is one of the most human stories I've ever seen from the Godzilla franchise, and it was absolutely spectacular. This is going in my top 5 as well. This is my S tier. for the top 5 movies I've seen, and that is one of them. Another one that is really high up for me is The Evil Dead Rise. My husband and I are huge fans of the Evil Dead franchise, and this film really did it for me. I really do think that this movie was a great addition to the franchise. It paid a lot of tribute to the original, but also kept in a lot of the good horror elements that we saw in the 2013 remake, which was also really well received. Sorry, excuse me. Oh yeah, because I'm not editing myself, there's going to be a lot of that. Just letting you know. So yeah, Evil Dead Rise, like there's a lot of fans of Evil Dead have been kind of like, there's been this discourse online about, is the 2013 remake better or is Evil Dead Rise better? And I personally am team Evil Dead Rise. I think Lee Cronin did an amazing job with this. If somebody didn't tell me that Sam Raimi didn't direct this, when I saw this, I would have thought he did. His vision is really well captured in this. And for that reason, and because I'm such a huge fan of the franchise, Evil Dead Rise also is in my top 5 S tier. So how many do we have up there right now? We've got 3. That means there's 2 more spots left for this. So, oh God. So now we've got The Exorcist Believer. And this is hard, man. This is real hard. Now, I know that I put this as last place in my ranking for the fall, but I don't think I am going to put this in the worst film of the year award, even though I did rank this dead last. I know that I have Haunting in Venice as D, but I also put it as last on my summer video. So clearly I've had time to think about these things, and I have a different criteria for this tier list than I do my ranking. So The Exorcist Believer for me is going to go in F. It's not going to go in the worst of the year. I think that there is one movie in particular that I think will definitely need to be put in that for sure. So what do we got next? Next we have Barbie. Barbie was great. Barbie had so much fun qualities to it. I loved the humor. I loved the commentary on womanhood. I loved the commentary on philosophy and sociological issues. There was just a lot to unpack. And the fact that it was wrapped into a Barbie film was just really interesting. Totally twisted to do something like that, to make something so deep and wrap it in a Barbie package was really interesting. Barbie for me is gonna go in A tier, because there are 2 more movies in my top that, in my opinion, still outdid Barbie's. And then remember, this is just my opinion. This just comes down to my personal taste. Barbie was an absolute spectacle and a great time. I loved it, so that's why it's an A. What movie is that? I can't see it. Hold on. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so, that's Gran Turismo. Okay, so Gran Turismo, I ranted and raved about that in my summer film ranking because I'm a huge fan of racing. I love racing. I love NASCAR, even though I know that this isn't NASCAR. I love just that whole kind of, I just love that sport, right? So, and I know that there are better movies out there about this particular sport, but I really loved the creative liberties that were taken in this, even though the story is not accurate at all. We all know. I just really liked the way that it was directed. It was oh Jesus. It was we should have like a burp counter as to like how many times, whoever can count how many times I burp in this video, because I can't edit it. Y'all get with the program, start counting and see how many I do. So yeah, there's pros and cons to this movie, obviously, because of that. I really liked it, but there was a lot of, I really liked the vision. I'm going to put this in B. I think that it doesn't deserve an A, but I definitely really enjoyed this film, and I like the way that it was directed. There's another one for you. Dungeons and Dragons. Oh my gosh, I have not seen this since I saw it in theater, so it's, my memory's a little hazy on it, but I remember loving this film. This was so fun, guys. This was such a surprise. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be this fun, but I loved this. I'm definitely going to put this in A also, because I remember leaving that theater being so unbelievably surprised. It was funny. It had a lot of heart. Some of the humor in that is some of the. I have laughed harder in that movie than I had in a while from this film. So definitely putting that in A. Next, I've got Infinity Pool by Brandon Cronenberg, his father, the Cronenberg. Sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just having an ADHD moment because that's very much everything that I am. David Cronenberg is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. And his films are just, really just... He's one of those people that makes these movies, and I'm trying to. I know that he has another one. He has another kid too. That's what I'm looking up right now. Because you got David Cronenberg. You've got Brandon Cronenberg as a son, but there's also another kid. It's his daughter. Sorry, guys. I'm kind of getting a little bit. Who's the other kid? Caitlin Cronenberg. There we go. So just that whole family is super creative. It makes just really twisted movies. I just love it. Brandon Cronenberg. This was a film that I was kind of expecting to be a little bit more reminiscent of his father's work. I thought it was going to be really out there with certain special effects, and it was to some degree. It was a little bit slower moving than I was expecting it to be. But the metaphor about self-hatred and the relationship that we have with ourselves. I don't want to give too much away. I think this is a movie that we really need, that you just need to watch and find out yourself. But it really surprised me. This movie is going in A. Infinity Pool, I really, really liked a lot. Hypnotic. I talked a lot about that in my summer ranking video. I love Robert Rodriguez, but it definitely was a Christopher Nolan knockoff in a lot of ways, even though I still enjoyed it. So I'm kind of torn, but I'm definitely going to put this in B. We don't have any C's yet. That's wild. I think we're about to, because we're getting to some of the ones that I'm seeing some of the ones on the list that I will definitely put in C. We just haven't had any C's. The Hypnotic was had a fun twist, and it's a twist that happens earlier on in the movie so that we see how the rest of it plays out, which I love those. And it just had a weird ending. I think that's really what it was, for me. And some of the acting was a little questionable. But The Covenant. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal. Wow, what a movie. That was one that really surprised me. I went to go see it just on a whim because I'm a big fan of, I'd seen a couple military movies this year. And this was one that I was like, sure, why not? Go see it. Guy Ritchie's a pretty cool filmmaker. I like him. And I love Jake Gyllenhaal as an actor. Let's go watch it. And I was blown away. I wept and sobbed at this one. I just thought it was such a great movie of unity and togetherness and repaying the debt that you feel that you owe to another person who saved your life. And for that reason, The Covenant goes in my S tier, my top 5. So how many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4? We got one more left. And I know exactly where. I think we all know what film that's reserved for. So let's just go ahead and put it right in there, guys. We already know it's Oppenheimer. So let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. Put Oppenheimer up in there. Because you all know how I feel about Oppenheimer. So we're putting that there. Next is The Nun 2. The Nun 2 was definitely better than the first one. But it still wasn't that great. So I'm going to put it in D. It Lives Inside was really good. You all know that, from the last video I talked about how much I really liked it. That one had room for improvement, but I really liked it regardless. And I just really liked the cultural aspect of this. Yeah, you know what? I'm putting this in A. I just think it was really, really good, and I would definitely watch it again. The rewatch value is definitely there. You can kind of see where my tastes are all over the place here. With both my S tier and my A tier, my tastes are very wide. I'm definitely into a bunch of different types of films. So the Marvels. All right. Let me just make sure first. All right. The Marvels is going into my Worst of the Year award. And here's why. For this reason alone, honestly. I still think I would have if it wasn't for the fact that I saw Godzilla -1. I think that The Exorcist would have gone on my Worst of the Year award. However, there are no excuses. None. The fact that Japan comes in here and says, y'all, let me show you what we got. $15 million movie that blows a $275 million movie out of the park at the box office. And there's no excuses for that, America. Marvel, Disney, there's no excuses. Your movie it feels like it was written by AI. It's completely devoid of any creativity. And there are some really visually stunning parts of this film, and there are parts that I was entertained by and that made me laugh. But am I ever going to watch it again? No. And I think that Disney needs to be taught a lesson. And it has, by Godzilla -1. And for that reason, this movie goes into the Worst of the Year award. Because there's absolutely no excuses. This movie should never have been made to begin with. And so that's how I feel. All right, The Pope's Exorcist. I think we have our first C, guys. The Pope's Exorcist was good. I enjoyed it. But it really had some really bizarre, not in a good way either, very run-of-the-mill, stereotypical horror movie moments that happened at the end. It was just too much of a spectacle. It was just you're trying too hard at this point. And sometimes, really, in horror, I think we've been learning that in horror, a lot of the times less is more, and that you don't need these big, huge special effects spectacles happening at the end. It really, because that's exactly what The Nun 2 did also, and it was just too much. You guys are doing way too much for what this is. The only thing is that The Pope's Exorcist, I feel, did it better, and I really liked the performances. I loved the script. I loved the acting. Act 1 and 2 were far better than Act 3. So for me, it makes it go in the middle of the road. No One Will Save You. We already talked about that last week. I really enjoyed that. That's going to go in B. Now, the movie that was this one right here was No Hard Feelings. Is a comedy. It was really, really funny. I thought it was hilarious. I don't normally watch I don't really normally watch comedies anymore unless they're really subversive and transgressive and offer some kind of something more than just a ha 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 ha. Is we're past that. I really don't think there's any I don't know. Comedies just don't really do it for me anymore, honestly. Unless it's like a dark comedy or something that has some kind of substance to it. This, for me, though, kind of brought back the nostalgia of those ridiculous raunchy comedies that were actually really funny. And this was so well done. I thought it was hysterical. I laughed a lot. So I'm going to put that in B. I really, really liked it. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I'll put that in A. I think that it was definitely up there. The animation was dopamine overload, and sometimes it was really hard to pay attention because as you all know already, I'm sure, I have issues with that. But I really enjoyed it. It was great. The Creator also goes in A. You already heard me talk about that in the last video, so I'm not going to say too much about it, other than it's one of my favorite films in that particular genre that I've seen in years. I loved their take on, AI rights, and I thought that it was just really interesting story with a really, really emotional payoff at the end. Sound of Freedom is our next one. Sound of Freedom is a film by Angel Studios that, I've been trying to watch more Angel Studios because they're really fascinating me right now. They are kind of doing like what I try to do, which is kind of be like the anti-Hollywood film, situation. For me, though, I'm doing it on YouTube, and I don't have a political or religious agenda attached to it because, politically, I'm very independent, so I don't really have a bias, really. I mean, we all have biases, but I don't have like an agenda behind what I do. I just love to create, and I do it independently, and that's what I do. But, Angel Studios is a Christian studio. I'm not Christian. I don't identify as a Christian, but I did grow up Christian, so I appreciate what they're doing. I think that it's really cool to have a studio that's like, we're not connected to Hollywood and we're doing our own thing. And they just came out with a new movie that looks really interesting called The Shift. It's about like multiple realities, and how I feel about that. So I was gonna see it today, but I think I'm gonna wait till streaming because, like I said, I've just been so busy. Sound of Freedom, though, is one of those movies that was kind of controversial because it was right in the Barbenheimer time frame. And a lot of people who were like anti-Hollywood were like, we're going to go see this movie instead. Everybody should go see Sound of Freedom. There was a very clear political agenda attached to it that I felt didn't need it because it's protecting kids from, those terrible, terrible things should not be a political issue. And I feel like they're inherently making it one. But that's just, my opinion. As far as a movie goes for its content, it really wasn't that controversial. It was just a really well done movie about this topic. Jim Caviezel, I'm not a huge fan of him, but like I said, I could separate the art from the artist. I thought he did a fantastic job. His acting is great. Unfortunately, the script doesn't do it justice. The film suffers in the second act. The first act is really good, and the final act is amazing. I really liked that final act of this film. I thought it was really well done. The problem is that the movie wasn't consistent. So for that reason, I can't really put it in A, but I don't think it deserves a C either. I think I'm going to be putting Sound of Freedom in B tier. Knock at the Cabin. Now, y'all, if you haven't already, you should go watch my M. Night Shyamalan video. It was a video that I did about Airbender a few videos back, and I talk about the history of M. Night Shyamalan, and that the way that he writes is really awkward. He writes in a way, again, that just feels like AI, like it doesn't feel human, the way that he writes. And while it's not as bad in this film, it's definitely noticeable still. He has not moved past that writing style. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Like it wasn't there in Split, but it was there in Glass. You know what I mean? Like it's just a weird way that he writes. And it constantly takes me out of it. Even though the story was interesting, the cinematography was beautiful. I loved the way this film was shot. And I loved the characters, and I loved the concept and the premise and the plot and story, all of it. It's just that one thing that was taking me out of it. So for that reason, I'm going to put Knock at the Cabin in C. Strays was so cute and hysterical and had a surprising emotional payoff too about the relationship that humans have with their animals and dogs. I've talked about this in my summer ranking, so I'm not going to go too far into it. But I'm definitely going to put this in. You know what? I'll put it in B. It was a good movie. I really, really liked it, and I would watch it again. His Only Son. I am going to put... This is another Angel Studios movie, by the way. This one is... Oh, no. Yes, no. We're going to put this in F, right along with The Exorcist Believer. This was a movie that I saw that came out around Easter time. It was supposed to be about, Father Abraham, or was it who it was? Yeah, the guy's supposed to go up there, and then God tells him to kill his son, and it's like, oops, never mind, psych. And God's all like, yeah, I was just testing you and stuff. And then, he's all like, bro, God, like, what the hell is wrong with you, you psychopath? And that's basically the story, to sum it up. It was just... This story is interesting. And you can make it interesting. You can make a Bible story really interesting in the way that it's shot. And so many things were taking me out of this experience. And just, there could have been a really cool way that God tells him to not kill him at the end. Because the son at this point knows what's coming. And then he's just all like, oh, you're not going to kill me anymore? Okay, Dad, I love you. Let's just move on from this traumatic experience. It was just, you know what? I cannot with this movie. I really can't. It was not good. So that goes in F. F tier. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I've already talked about this in the video before. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to put it in A. I think it's one of the best Marvel movies we've had in a while, actually. This one right here is that what I think it is? Yes, it is. Transformers Rise of the Beast. I was actually surprised by this movie. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, even though it had its cheesy, quirky moments, but that's just the way Transformers is. And then there's that whole thing that they're doing now where they're combined, where now Transformers and G.I. Joe are now going to be sharing another cinematic universe, which I think is really cool. So I'm going to put this in, I'll put it in C tier, only because it just doesn't hold up as much as some of the others that I put in A and B. I just don't think it belongs in A or B because it doesn't have the same payoff as those films do. But I don't think it's bad enough to be in D or F. So yeah, C's good spot for that. Y'all already know how I feel about Mutant Mayhem. I love Mutant Mayhem. That was one of my favorite movies I saw this year, but it's clearly not in my top 5, but it's definitely up there. Pardon me. Blue Beetle. I loved Blue Beetle, but there was a lot of issues too that I had and things that I would have changed. I want to so badly put this in B tier. So badly. But I do think I'm going to put it in C. Only because, now I did like this movie. I really did enjoy this movie. But in the same way that I enjoy the others in C. There was just a lot of problems. The whole thing with the grandma was hilarious, but there needed to be some kind of build up to that, so that way it didn't just blindside you with like this funny moment that could have been funnier if they would have made comments earlier in the movie that she was a part of the resistance. Otherwise, it just feels like they just randomly added it in for laughs, and it again took me out of it. I've said that many times. It took me out of it. There's a lot of things that take me out of these experiences. This one is Insidious the Red Door, and it was pretty good, but also not. I feel very split on this. I really like that they brought back the family, same actors, the kids, and it was really fun to watch. I don't think it was as good as Insidious Chapter 1 or 2, but it was definitely better than the ones that came after. So, and I am a huge Insidious fan. I'm a huge fan of the Insidious films. There's all kinds of, my phone's buzzing. I have doorbells at the office. I am so sorry for all the noise. We'll go with C. I am a huge fan of the Insidious franchise, but it's just not quite there for me. Fury of the Gods, Shazam. Shazam 2. A lot of people didn't like this movie, but I really did. I mean, again, it had its issues, but I actually enjoyed it. I do think, though, that it suffered from hype problems. I think that people were expecting this movie to be just as good as the first one, and then it just wasn't. And I agree with that. I think the first one was definitely better than this one, but this one had a lot of cool moments too, and I really liked a lot, but there were just, I don't know. I'm not going to put it in. I think I'm going to put it in B. I do. I think B is a good spot for it because I really did like it. And it has rewatch value for me. And I really like Zachary Levi. And I really like seeing the crew back again. And the stakes were higher. It had really cool moments. Yeah, I don't understand what people's problem is with this movie. I really liked it. The last movie we have that I saw this year is Quantumania. One of the worst Marvel movies I've ever seen. Honestly, it's a step up from the Marvels, yeah, but it was pretty bad. I had such high expectations that I really wanted to like it. And I did like some parts of it. There were parts of it that I did enjoy, but this wasn't the one, y'all. This wasn't the one. There was just, they retconned the whole, oh my God, floating head guy. Can't even remember his name right now. It's hot in this office, and y'all, I am ready to go home. So, now we have a pretty solid list here. A pretty solid list. Everything is here in this tier. So, worst movie of the... Let's just work our way up. Worst movie of the year, The Marvels. In F category, we have The Exorcist, His Only Son, and Quantumania. D, we have 65, Flash, Haunting in Venice, and Nun 2. C, we have, The Pope's Exorcist, Knock at the Cabin, Rise of the Beast, Blue Beetle, Red Door. B, we have Mario. We've got Gran Turismo, Hypnotic, No One Will Save You, No Hard Feelings, Sound of Freedom, Strays, and Shazam 2. In A tier, we have Blackberry, Barbie, Dungeons & Dragons, Infinity Pool, It Lives Inside, Across the Spider-Verse, The Creator, Guardians 3, and Mutant Mayhem. And of course, our top 5, which is Asteroid City, -1, Evil Dead Rise, The Covenant, and Oppenheimer. So with that being said, let's go ahead and rank these films, these 5. So this is going to start with Evil Dead Rise. Evil Dead Rise is going to be my number 5 spot. I'm a huge fan of the franchise. I just don't think that it is as strong as the others in this category. Next is going to be The Covenant. The Covenant was such a great movie, emotional story. Guy Ritchie's direction is awesome in this. The story is so emotional, and it's really painful to watch at times, but like you just go on this journey with these people, and it's just such a, again, like how I am about human stories, and stories about unity, and stories about not, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from, but it's about the content of your character, and it's just so good. So that's my number 4 spot. Number 3 spot is Asteroid City. I just think that it is one of the best movies I've ever seen. I loved this movie, and I think that it is definitely, just my opinion, Wes Anderson's best film. It's such a great love letter to UFO culture, and I love the concept of having the whole movie be, it's like simultaneously a play, but it's also the actors who play the characters in the play, and there's this alien, and it's very like fragmented and very like non-linear. Godzilla -1 is the second best movie I've seen this year. It was spectacular, and I'm a huge Godzilla fan already, and this is why I'm a Godzilla fan. This movie right here. And now, as we all know, it's no secret. You all know how I feel about Oppenheimer. You know how I feel about Christopher Nolan. You all know how I feel about all of this. World War II history, all of it. So that's why Oppenheimer is my number 1 movie of the year, if not ever of my entire fucking life. Oppenheimer probably is the best movie I've ever seen, so it's going to be hard to top that. Awesome. Thanks for watching this excruciatingly long video. This is probably one of the longest videos I've made. It's not a movie I've made. This is a pretty long one, this tier list. So thank you guys for joining me on this. We're at the end of the year now, please tune in to get more updates about Culturegeist as I release them. We have some showings going on in February, and then I'll be releasing it online in March. So for those of you who have any questions about what I'm doing with that, just shoot me a message or comment, and I'll tell you. But I'm keeping this plot very much under wraps, and but I'm excited for you guys to see it. All right, guys, thanks for watching this video. Next video is going to be a little bit more intense. I'm going to be talking about a really important issue in film, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in next week's video. Peace out.